Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we take that pile of sources you've got and try to pull out some real knowledge, maybe some surprising connections. Today, we're getting into hunting. Now, our sources, they talk about it as, recreation, sometimes just plain fun, but they also stress pretty heavily, actually, that it's one of the most regulated activities out there. So, our mission today for you is to kind of map that out. What are the actual steps, the learning, the licenses you need to hunt? Well, efficiently and ethically. We're not just looking for a few safety tips here. We want to understand the whole system. How does it make sure hunting is sustainable, responsible?
Yeah, and that's the key point, isn't it? Sustainable and responsible. It's clear from the material that safety isn't like an optional add-on. It's really the absolute starting point. Everything else, how you handle a firearm, tracking, field dressing, it all stems from that core of safety and, frankly, respect for the environment. And the first big thing you notice with the regulations is, well, you can't just wake up one day and decide to go hunting. Not legally, anyway. To actually pursue and harvest wild game, you absolutely need a license. That's mandatory. It's a fundamental control. Helps manage wildlife, ensures people follow the rules.
Right, a control mechanism. And getting that license, it starts way before you even see an application form based on what we read. The sources really hammer this home. The main gateway in pretty much every state is passing a hunter education class. You have to demonstrate, the rules of the road, basically.
Exactly. And this is where it starts getting a little tricky because the rules aren't the same everywhere. State laws can vary quite a bit, actually, especially about who has to take the course, which, if you think about it, can be a real headache for someone who hunts in multiple states.
Okay, tell me more about that variation, like the grandfathering thing. What if someone's been hunting for, say, 30 years? Do they still need this class?
It depends. Classic state variation example. It often comes down to your date of birth. In some states, yeah, the official hunter ed certificate. It's only mandatory if you were born after a certain date, let's say January 1st, 1975, just as an example. If you were born before that date, you're often considered grandfathered in. The assumption is you'll learn through experience, so you might just apply for the license directly. No certificate needed.
Huh. So if I was born in, 1970 and my state uses that kind of cutoff, I'd just skip the class?
Often, yes, that's the case. But, and this is important, other states have moved towards universal education. They're much stricter now. In those places, it doesn't matter how old you are or how long you've hunted. Every single hunter needs a valid, up-to-date certificate to get licensed, period.
Wow, okay. That sounds like it could be confusing. How do people figure this out, especially new hunters? Where do they even start looking?
Yeah, it could be a mess. But thankfully, there's a pretty solid resource. The sources pointed specifically to the IEA USA website.
IEA, yeah.
International Hunter Education Association, USA.
Yeah.
They act as a central hub, basically. You can go there, find the specific rules, the requirements for your state. It really cuts down on the guesswork, shows how serious these groups are about making the info accessible.
Okay, so let's dig into the course itself then. Even if you don't strictly need it legally, maybe you're grandfathered in, the sources all agree. Taking it is still a really smart move. So what are you actually learning in there? It's got to be more than just don't point the gun at your buddy, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's way more comprehensive than most people probably think. It really blends safety rules with conservation ethics. Of course, safe firearm handling is huge. Proper loading, unloading, carrying it safely in the field, storing it at home, that's non-negotiable. But it's just the beginning. They spend a lot of time on ethical shot placement, too. Which isn't just about being humane, though that's critical. It's also about efficiency.
Efficiency? How so?
Well, a bad shot often means a wounded animal that runs off. That's unethical, obviously, but it's also incredibly inefficient. You might lose the animal entirely, waste the resource, or spend hours tracking it. Maybe the meat gets spoiled. So the course teaches precision, aiming for a quick, clean harvest. It's partly skill, partly a moral thing. Saves time, preserves the meat quality.
Ah, I see. So efficiency is tied directly to the ethical treatment. Minimizing waste, maximizing the harvest's value. Got it.
Precisely. And they also cover state-specific regulations again. Things like, blaze orange requirements, how much you need, when you need it, that can change. Or even rules about magazine capacity for certain firearms in certain seasons. Yeah. It varies. And maybe most importantly, these courses really drive home the concepts of wildlife management and conservation. I mean, hunters are often key funders for conservation work, right? Through license fees, taxes on gear. So the education reinforces that role. You learn why the rules exist.
Like population dynamics, managing diseases, why seasons are set the way they are?
Exactly. Population dynamics, habitat needs, why quotas are necessary. It elevates your understanding from just participating in a sport to actually being part of managing an ecosystem.
And I think one thing the sources highlighted, which seems really valuable, is the format of these courses, especially the in-person ones. You get something you just can't get from clicking through slides online. You can ask those specific real-world questions that come up when you're actually preparing.
Yeah, and maybe even more valuable, it connects you to the community, right? Experienced hunters often teach these classes. They share those little tips, those insider secrets about safety or technique that you only learn from years out there.
Definitely. Things like field dressing and tricky terrain or how to read the weather signs, stuff like that.
It helps new people feel more comfortable, find their footing, builds that network you kind of need. So that's the formal education piece. But what about actually building confidence, applying that knowledge in the real world? That often comes down to learning directly from someone experienced. Mentorship. Mentorship is really that second big pathway for learning safety, learning the ropes. But, as the sources point out, finding a mentor isn't always easy. Traditionally, hunting knowledge was passed down in families, close friends. If you're new to it all, without those connections, finding someone willing to teach you can feel like a big barrier.
Right, but it seems like technology is actually helping break down that barrier now. Our sources mention things like social media, specific websites.
Yeah, that's a really interesting development. There are dedicated websites, forums, even Facebook groups now, specifically designed to connect newcomers mentees with experienced hunters who are willing to volunteer their time. It sort of democratizes the whole mentorship thing, connects people who probably wouldn't have met otherwise.
Okay, so let's say you find a mentor through one of these groups, or maybe you already know someone, and you want to do more than just watch, you want to participate.
Right. That's where this other interesting legal tool comes in, the apprentice hunting license.
An apprentice license, what exactly does that let you do? Is it like a learner's permit for hunting?
Pretty much, yeah. It's designed as a bridge. It allows someone, the apprentice, to legally hunt, carry a firearm, participate in the chase, and yes, even harvest an animal without having completed the full hunter ed course first.
Okay, but there have to be conditions, right?
Oh, absolutely. Strict supervision is the key. The apprentice must be accompanied at all times by a fully licensed adult hunter who has completed all the required education. And that mentor usually has to stay very close, like within voice or sight distance. It's a trade-off. You get to participate sooner, but under direct, constant expert oversight.
That makes sense. Real practice, but very controlled.
It's a great way to try it out properly while still meeting legal requirements.
Mhm.
But keep in mind, like many things we've discussed, this apprentice license isn't available in every single state. You have to check locally.
Right, always check the local rules. So what if that's not an option? Maybe your state doesn't offer it, or maybe you're just not ready for that level of involvement yet. What's the simplest way just to dip your toe in? To see if hunting is even something you want to invest time and money into?
The simplest way is just tagging along. If you know a licensed hunter, you can go out with them purely as an observer.
So you can watch, maybe help carry gear, but that's it.
Exactly. You don't carry a hunting firearm yourself, and you absolutely do not take the shot. The legal line is very clear there. If you're tagging along without that apprentice license, the licensed hunter is the only one who can legally perform the act of killing the animal. When it comes time for the harvest, the observer steps back.
But even just observing must be incredibly valuable.
It really is. Watching how an experienced hunter moves through the woods, how they make decisions, check boundaries, handle the animal after the harvest, it's priceless learning. Our sources called it a really high-value, low-commitment way to figure out if hunting is truly for you before you invest in the courses, the gear, everything else. The ultimate try before you buy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Which kind of brings us back to the main point from this deep dive, doesn't it? All this process, the safety courses, the licensing, it might seem like bureaucracy, like hoops to jump through. But it's not just red tape. It's fundamental to keeping the sport respected and, well, sustainable.
Absolutely. It's the framework. Safety regulations, mandatory education.
Yeah.
They ensure that hunting meets the standards society expects now. By requiring education on everything from safe gun handling to ethical shots to wildlife management, the system helps ensure hunting is done responsibly. It protects people and it protects the wildlife populations themselves.
It really is that blend of practical skills and ethical understanding that defines what it means to be a hunter today. Which leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on. We've seen that the required education covers way more than just firearm safety. It digs deep into ethical hunting, conservation, wildlife management. So, how does weaving safety and conservation together like this fundamentally change the identity of the modern hunter? Does it shift them from just someone participating in an activity to being an active steward, a resource manager? Think about that connection next time you see a hunting license requirement.